Having just fitted the new replacement cable to this dryer and got it working, I'm now going to run straight through again to fix this one. I've recorded it first time round, but unless you want half an hour of me fumbling and muttering at myself, I'm going to try and do this in a bit quicker run through. Still nothing like as smooth and slick as the video that Gratkit released, but just so as you know that none of us are perfect, and this stuff can be fiddlier than it looks. So you just whip out these two rollers, and then, unless you're far more dexterous than me, you're going to want two Phillips screwdrivers, a number 2 and a number 1. So you've got 4 screws holding this base plate in. Now if you've watched the video that Gratkit released on how to do this, you'd know they were all but finished by now. I think it took me about an hour to do the first one, but I've paused my video a few times, so I'm just going to try and get this done with a lot less faff and show you how I did it. So before you pull this out, take note you have got a little bubble for mister there if you have one of the earlier revisions. When you finish, just make sure that's sitting up straight. Down here on the board you've got a pair of plugs. So just whip those out. I'm just using the needle nose pliers because it's a bit tight to reach in there. Then you can lift this whole plate out, and there you go, there's that for Mr. Bubble. So when you put this back, you just want it straight up like that. Don't wiggle it too much because you snap these wires. These 2 plugs, they're different sizes and they're keyed, so you can't get them in the wrong way round. Having done that, now on the video, the Gratkit engineer just whips the cable out, drops another one in there, 2 here, job done. I found trying to do it like that, I just spent ages faffing. So I'm going to pull this board out, put the cable in and then refit the board, and I'm going to remove the screen and do that end as well. It might not be the quickest way if you can just get it done in one smooth motion, but I just found, oops, where did that go? I'm too much fingers and thumbs for that. So I spent ages fumbling with the cables and still couldn't get them to go in the right ports. I find these ribbon cables are quite tricky, especially if you're in a tight area like this. pull up on the little black retaining clip and lift the cable out of the board, and then you should be able to lift this board up a bit. Don't yank it all the way out, just lift it up so you can reach this clip, and then undo that plug. Now you can pull this ribbon cable out, and at this end, before you pull it all the way up, just flip that black retaining clip again and pull the cable out. And that's your old cable out of the way. So now, without any of that stuff in the way, I find it a lot easier like this. You don't have to copy me. Look at your replacement cable. You've got the strain relief in the middle there so it doesn't stick. Shorter end goes to the motherboard. So you flip this is where you need about 8 hands. You lift the retaining clip up, hold the board, put the blue tab facing this way so the contacts are facing this side. Drop that in, and then just press the clip back down, and you can check that it's in straight. And that's that end done. So then you can refit it. Oh, come on. That's it. It's the only trouble working on tiny stuff like this and having quite broad hands. Right. There's that part in. Now, if you're really dexterous or patient, you can now try flipping this tab open, feeding this end in, so that in this orientation that blue end there is facing you and the contacts are facing down. I tried that for a little bit of time, and in the end decided to ignore that route and take the screen off. And if you have a couple of spare filament boxes handy with filament in, so they've got the weight, you can balance it like this and make your life a bit easier. Now I've got a decent thumbnail. If not, just find yourself a spudger, just something plastic so you're not going to damage it. This screen face is just held in with like double-sided tape. So there we go. So with that off, a number 1 Phillips, got 2 screws. Just keep track of what screws came from which part. It'll save you a lot of faffing later. And then you should be able to just grab the tail end of it and through there. And without it being in the case, it's an awful lot easier to just hold. Well said. hold the tab open, slide the cable in, click the tab shut, and then it should be in there straight and held properly. And then make sure you haven't put a twist in the cable. Yep, we're good. Drop the screen back into place. Hopefully you'll have had the good sense to not leave fingerprints on the screen. There we go, and then you can just drop that plate back on. And before we fix the last bit in place, if you just sit that side on, you should be able to reach in here to put these plugs back. Should be in the appropriate word. Make sure your thermistor's sticking up straight. Don't screw this down yet because you just want to power it on and test it. So it should sit like so. And then plug in your power and you should have a working screen. And here we go. Now you know it's working. Get the power off. And then comes the fun bit of sticking this cable in place. Peel off the backing. And then try to get it to follow that little groove there. If it's, you have got a little bit of give if you need to peel it off and straighten it up, but make sure you leave a little bit of slack so that it's not pulling on the port. Okay, that's gone sideways. Kind of blocking my own light here while I'm trying to get it straight, which isn't all that helpful. I think that's straight enough. Yeah, so that's then fix this end in place. Make sure you're still in the port there. And then last check of the thermistor to make sure it's straight. Newer revisions have that in a housing, so you shouldn't have to do that. And then you can put the screws back in. These screws are just tapping into plastic, so don't over tighten them or you'll strip the thread out and then it won't hold. So that's that, all done. Make sure it's fine there. And then there's just this bit to go. So I found it easier not to peel the backing off all the way on this bit. Make sure that port's in tight and then just give it a little bit slack there before you follow the groove. So that it's not pulling tight on that port if possible. And then you should be able to just follow the groove coming back. Gradually peel the tape off as you go. Okay, so there we go. Now the cable's sighted in that groove, still fixed into the back of the port here, and now you've got that nice curve there on the cable because it can't stick to itself, so it shouldn't snag in the hinge anymore. So just double check it's still working. Yep, there we go, power up, you've got the lights on, and I've upset it by tilting it. And then you can just drop your base rollers back in. They just press in with a gentle click. And your centre spool. And you're done. So now you can enjoy your lovely RGB dryer.